C1 level English is often considered a significant milestone in language learning, and many people believe it's a long, difficult journey to get there. However, the truth is that achieving C1 proficiency in English might not be as hard as you think. In fact, many learners find that getting to C1 can be much easier than expected. Why? Because when you reach an intermediate level, you've already laid the foundation, and now it's just about building on what you know. So, let's explore why reaching C1 is easier than it seems. First, let's talk about where you are when you reach an intermediate level. By the time you hit B2, you've already learned a lot of English. You can hold basic conversations, understand most everyday situations, and you've got a good grasp of the grammar and vocabulary needed to get by. You're already thinking in English, which is a huge advantage. At this stage, you've passed through the toughest part of learning, familiarizing yourself with the basic structure of the language. The good news is that when you reach C1, it's more about refining what you already know. You don't have to start from scratch anymore. You've learned how to form sentences, ask questions, and express your ideas. Now, it's just about enhancing your skills, expanding your vocabulary, and improving your fluency. It's like when you've built the skeleton of a house. You're now adding the finishing touches that make it stronger and more beautiful. One of the biggest reasons why C1 is easier than it sounds is that you've already been exposed to English for a while. By the time you reach this level, you've spent hundreds or thousands of hours listening to, speaking, reading, and writing in English. This exposure is like a muscle that gets stronger over time. You've absorbed the patterns, the sentence structures, and even the rhythms of the language. The more you immerse yourself in English, the easier it becomes to move from an intermediate to an advanced level. Let's talk about vocabulary for a second. At C1 level, you'll learn more complex words, but you're not starting from scratch. The advanced vocabulary you learn at this level often builds on the words you already know. For example, if you know the word happy, you can easily understand and use synonyms like content, pleased, or elated. Learning advanced vocabulary isn't about memorizing long lists of words. It's about expanding your range of expression. As long as you continue practicing and using these new words in conversations, you'll quickly get comfortable with them. When it comes to grammar, by the time you hit C1, you're already familiar with the core structures of the language. At this point, it's more about mastering the subtleties, using the right tense, knowing when to use more advanced structures, and understanding the fine points of word order. C1 learners are expected to use grammatical structures accurately, but you don't have to master every single rule. Focus on consistency and the correct application of the grammar you've already learned. As you practice, these structures will start to come naturally. Another reason why C1 is easier than expected is that you are now familiar with real-world contexts. You've been exposed to English in a variety of situations, at work, at school, in social situations, and through entertainment. You've likely watched movies, listened to podcasts, and read books in English. This constant exposure to the language in different contexts helps you understand how to use English in various situations. At C1 level, you're not just talking about basic topics like the weather or hobbies. You're discussing more complex ideas such as opinions, debates, and problem solving. One of the most exciting parts about reaching C1 is that you've likely developed a deep understanding of English culture. You're not just learning words and phrases, you're also learning the nuances, the idioms, and the cultural references that make the language richer and more authentic. At this stage, you can have discussions about topics like politics, history, or art. This cultural knowledge enhances your ability to communicate effectively with native speakers and makes your English sound more natural and fluent. Let's talk about fluency for a moment. At C1, you're expected to speak fluidly and with confidence. Fluency doesn't mean perfection. It means being able to express yourself clearly and effectively. You might still make occasional mistakes, but you'll be able to recover quickly and continue the conversation. The key here is to keep practicing. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll get, and the easier it will be to express your thoughts without hesitation. One of the best ways to improve your fluency is through immersion. By now, you've likely been immersing yourself in English for quite some time, whether through watching TV shows, listening to podcasts, reading, or speaking with others. This constant exposure is essential for improving fluency. When you surround yourself with English, you're continuously training your brain to process the language more efficiently. This immersion helps you develop a feel for the language, making it easier to speak without thinking too much about grammar or vocabulary. Speaking regularly with native speakers or advanced learners is also crucial at this stage. If you can't find a speaking partner, you can still practice by recording yourself speaking, or by using language exchange apps to practice with people online. Speaking regularly helps you become comfortable with the speed and flow of real conversations. It also helps you become more confident in using the vocabulary and grammar structures you've learned. When you reach C1 level, reading becomes a powerful tool for further improvement. At this stage, you should be able to read more challenging texts, such as novels, academic articles, and complex newspapers. Reading exposes you to more advanced vocabulary, idioms, and sentence structures. It also helps you understand how language is used in different genres and contexts. The more you read, the more you'll enhance your vocabulary and comprehension skills. The great thing about reading at the C1 level is that you don't have to understand every single word. You'll be able to use context clues to figure out unfamiliar words. And over time, this will improve your overall understanding of the language. Reading also helps you improve your writing skills by exposing you to different styles of writing and sentence structures. At C1 level, listening skills are crucial for understanding native speakers. You should be able to understand most conversations, including fast-paced or informal speech. Listening to podcasts, watching TV shows or movies, and engaging with news broadcasts are excellent ways to keep improving your listening skills. The more you practice listening, the more you'll be able to understand even the most difficult accents and rapid speech. Lastly, it's important to remember that learning English is a process, not a destination. Achieving C1 proficiency is a major achievement, but it's not the end of the journey. Even native speakers continue learning and improving their language skills. So, while C1 is a great level to reach, it's not about being perfect. It's about constantly improving and growing your abilities. When you think about mastering English, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that there's a final destination, an endpoint where you've arrived. But the truth is, learning a language is a journey, not a finish line. Even at C1 level, it's important to recognize that the journey never really stops. There's always room to grow, and even native speakers continue learning and evolving their language skills every day. So, let's explore what this process looks like and how to make it enjoyable and sustainable as you continue to improve. First things first, don't let the idea of perfection hold you back. You might be at C1 now, but that doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes again. In fact, mistakes are an essential part of language learning. Native speakers make mistakes too. Whether it's a slip-up with grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation, it happens. The key is not to be afraid of mistakes, but to learn from them and use them as stepping stones toward progress. The real secret is embracing imperfection and understanding that language is about communication, not perfection. As you continue to improve, expanding your vocabulary becomes one of the most important aspects of advancing from C1 to an even higher level. At C1, you likely have a pretty solid vocabulary, but to sound truly fluent, you need to broaden your range of expression. This doesn't just mean memorizing more words, it's about understanding the nuances of the language and how to use different words depending on the context. For example, if you've learned the word good at the C1 level, you should be able to replace it with words like excellent, superb, remarkable, or even outstanding in different situations. It's about learning which word fits the tone, context, and emotional undertones of the conversation. This will take time, but with regular practice and exposure, it becomes second nature. Let's talk about listening for a moment. If you want to keep pushing toward mastery, you have to work on your listening skills. At C1, you probably already understand most conversations in English, but the key to true fluency lies in your ability to comprehend the spoken language at natural speed. The more you expose yourself to native speakers, the better your ear will become at understanding regional accents, fast speech, idiomatic expressions, and even slang. Listen to podcasts, watch movies and TV shows, and try to engage with real-world conversations. Then you will be what you want to be, Just do these things, buddy. I promise you, you will do it. Subscribe.